Welcome back, friends. It is so good to be back with you. I have missed sharing with you. I contracted some sort of virus and I thought I was over it, and I just couldn't seem to get over it. And so I've been trying to give my body time to recuperate and rest. And so now I am back and excited about today's video. I want to talk about some things that we can do to add beauty to our everyday lives, and they also happen to correlate with things that I learned from my mother. With this being Mother's Day week, I wanted to give some attention to that and celebrate her and honor her, and also share some things with you that you can incorporate into your lives, hopefully. So, beginning with books, my mom loved to read, and she passed that love of reading down to, I think, really all of her children. I think all four of us, my three siblings and I, enjoy reading. Now, I don't have as much time now as a busy mom as I once did, but it still doesn't mean that I cannot incorporate reading into my life. There is an app called Great Audiobooks, I believe. I will leave a link in the description below. And they have had some really good ones recently. They did Arthur Conan Doyle, I believe, and Jane Austen, just some classics. And so if you can put on an audiobook while you are cleaning or organizing, that is a way to get reading in really easily. I also love to read to my children, and I wanted to share one of my favorites, and I believe it was one of my mom's favorites as well, was The Secret Garden. And I have here, this is actually called Inside the Secret Garden, a treasury of crafts, recipes, and activities. So this isn't the storybook, but this is fun because it has recipes. Here is one for crumpets. It also has like a history timetable of when it was written and some fun activities to do as well. Here is a pressed flower scrapbook. So The Secret Garden, I know that my mom even went and saw the musical of The Secret Garden, which was really good. I remember listening as a child to the soundtrack. And so The Secret Garden, if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. Now, another one of my mom's favorite authors was Charles Dickens, and I cannot say that I have ever read one of his stories all the way through, and I need to. I know I need to, but they are very long books usually. But I came across this classics series, and it is a youth version. So these are shorter adaptations. And Little Dorrit, which was one of my mom and dad's favorites, I know. So if you don't have time to read all of Dickens, maybe try a youth version or a shorter version. She loved collecting little birds to decorate her home with. And so we would have all different styles of birds here and there, mostly little iron ones, I think. She loved bird watching and had bird feeders, hummingbird feeders, just loved birds. So recently, my family and I went to an estate sale here in our hometown, and I didn't really expect to find anything. We had walked through most of the house and I hadn't really found anything that I thought I couldn't live without. And I was in the last room and I spotted these birds. I picked it up. I loved the color of them. And I turned it over on the bottom and it said made in Italy, which if something is made in particularly England, France, or Italy, it catches my eye. And so when I saw the made in Italy, I was just giddy inside. These quail birds that are ceramic, for both of these for $7 at the estate sale. And then on the bottom, here is the marking. And my husband looked this marking up, and I guess this is a pottery company that has since gone out of business. And he saw all different kinds of these birds on like Etsy or eBay, but he didn't see any that weren't painted like the color of these. I feel like maybe I have one of a kind birds here. I don't know, maybe there's more somewhere. But there's the one, and got some sunshine here, but that's great after all of our rain. And here is the other one. And what is also special about these is before I got married, I lived on Quail Valley Road. And so as well as being birds and as well as being pretty that will match my decor, it's also sentimental because of the quails. So very fun little find. I can't think of my mom without thinking of flowers. She definitely had a green thumb, and her passion and her therapy, relax, was to get outside and dig in the dirt. And I am finding that the older I get, the more that I enjoy that. I never used to really have the patience to work in the yard. I had this one row of shrubs in front of my bedroom window, and I felt like that if I kept those trimmed all of the time, that I did my part. This is something that I am trying to work on. I love flowers, and recently I was having an especially hard day, and my sweet sister sent flowers, and it just meant the world to me, as well as the friends here that delivered them. And flowers are just such a beautiful, I think, just expression of God's love to us, because you can smell them and see the beautiful colors and varieties, and they just bring such joy. I feel recently I took my kids, actually the three youngest because the oldest was at school, but we went to a nearby nursery and picked out a hydrangea in honor of my mom, because her birthday is in April, and then we have Mother's Day coming up. And since we are not able to go put flowers on her grave, I thought, what better way to celebrate her and remember her than to plant our own flowers. And so she has the most beautiful hydrangea at my home in Texas. And it's this blue, this dark blue color that turns to like a lime green. And they are beautiful and full and luscious, and they even are pretty dried. I believe she transplanted it from my grandmother who lived in Louisiana. And so it's a very old bush, and we tried to get a clipping off of it and plant it here, and we weren't successful with that. But I'm going to try a different kind. I wasn't able to find that kind here. I don't know if maybe it doesn't grow here as well. I found pink ones and white ones, and then I finally found this one that is called Limelight, and I guess it has the blue-green color to it, but the bush looks different, and then the shape of the flowers are more like a cone instead of like the full ball hydrangea that you normally think of. So we got it, and we are going to see how it does. My kids and I had so much fun just roaming around this nursery and looking at all of the different flowers and hunting for the hydrangeas. And I think we got the only one of the Limelight in that size that they had. So we are going to plant that and remember Grandmom with it and enjoy it hopefully as it blooms out this summer. Now, another book recommendation that I have that I recently was introduced to is called 1,000 Hours Outside. And if you have not read it, I highly recommend it. It is phenomenal, and it gives all of the data and science behind why we need to be outside, both adults and children. I feel like my children spend more than 1,000 hours outside a year. They're very much outside kids, but me not so much. So this is something that I am having to get creative with and think about, what am I normally doing inside that I could take outside and get fresh air and sunshine that our body needs. It does so much for us physically and emotionally and mentally, just in so many different ways. So if you haven't read 1,000 Hours Outside, check out the book, or they also have a podcast with the same title, I believe. Okay, another area or thing that I learned from my mom was to decorate seasonally. She was so good about every season. She would pull out her bin of that season's decor. So in the springtime, she had spring faux flowers that she would get out. That's when she would get her birds out. She would do things inside and outside the house seasonally. Now, not overboard, but just enough to where when you walked in the house, it just felt like spring and fresh. And so then also in the fall and autumn time, the same thing. I don't know, summer, maybe not so much. Summer and spring were kind of similar. However, she also decorated for the 4th of July. And so that was kind of the summer seasonal decor. And then the fall, as I mentioned, and then winter, Christmas. So that is something that I have enjoyed carrying over into my life and doing in our home, is to decorate seasonally. So on my little peg rack over our fireplace, I decorated there a little bit. I did a few things in my kitchen, and then on our front porch. And we have a small house, but there's always little places to tuck little things. And I feel like the biggest thing you can do in the spring is flowers. And so bringing flowers in, cutting them fresh, maybe every 3 or 4 days, and having them in vases. I recently hosted a Mother's Day tea party, and I cut fresh irises and roses. And so just bringing the plants and the flowers indoors can instantly add spring to your decor. So on and on. I could mention music. My mom would have just ambiance music playing in our home, classical music. She loved Irish music. She loved candles and bubble baths and taking naps in the car in the sunshine. But probably what I will mention last is cooking. And I want to share a recipe of one of our favorite desserts in our family. Every birthday she would let us pick out a birthday dessert in place of cake because we weren't all that crazy about birthday cake. And this came up quite often and one of our favorites. So, fruit pizza. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not. And there are so many different varieties that you can do with a fruit pizza. But our all-time favorite was beginning with a chocolate chip cookie dough. You could be store-bought, it could be homemade. Whenever Mom would buy the cookie dough in the tubes, my favorite part was cutting off the end and getting to eat the raw cookie dough. Probably not the healthiest thing, but I loved doing that as a child, and my kids love to do it now too. But a lot of times I will make it homemade, the cookie dough, and then just press it down in the pizza cookie sheet round, and then you mix cream cheese and sugar together, and that goes as your sauce, and spread that out on top. And then you just chop up all of your favorite kinds of fruit. Some of the ones we have done are peaches, pineapple, strawberries, really whatever is in season. We've done blueberries, blackberries, kiwi, just whatever you like. And so grapes, we usually always have red or green grapes on there. And then we would have fun making designs or doing the number of our birthday and just having fun. Just put your creativity into it. And so we recently did this for my son's birthday, and I will share the recipe in the description below if you would like to try it. There's also a glaze that you can put on top with the pineapple juice and cornstarch, but I have been leaving it off because it takes more time and I don't feel like it makes it taste any better. I think the main point of it was to hold the fruit on, but we just eat it without it. So that is a fun spring summer dessert that you can try for your family. Thank you so much for being with me today. If you are a mother, I wish you a very happy Mother's Day. If you have lost your mother, my heartfelt prayers and sympathy are with you, because this is the first year that I have not had my mom to send a card to or a present or talk to. Very much feel the impact of that if you are in that season of life. And if you have a mom, then I encourage you to seek her out and show your appreciation to her in a special way. I will see you next time, and take care.